Going live. Going live. You're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got another great show. It's Native American Myths and Legends 33, and with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers.
Greetings, everybody. Blessings to all of you, and we hope you're doing well. Thank you for showing up this evening and every evening when you do. And thank you, Robert, for another show. And let's see what we can do.
That's right. We're always doing good stuff. I got my computer working better. You notice the whole screen is full.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. The new computer is a little bit faster, so it can do it better, So anyway, so that helps out tremendously. Better background. Anyhow, let's see, we got going on tonight. I am going to talk about Montezuma. We're going to go right down to where the Indians first started getting conquered by the white man, where it all began, or where it all ended, or should I say, the good times ended right there. We got everybody streaming in. We got Lucky Smith, who's every day in every way I am getting better and better. The Soul Tribe is prospering. I am prospering. We are all prospering together. Thank you, Lucky. And great words. We are prospering, and you are prospering. Much favor to you. We got Travis the Brick in the house. Slowly but surely, Jules was in the house earlier. Thank you for coming. We're going to start a little slow. What have you been up to?
Oh, myself? Staying out of that gum heat.
Oh, you got the heat going on. Yeah. Bet you it's in the 90s, huh?
Yeah, but the heat index is 102, 105, 107. I mean, the heat index just sucks.
Oh, don't worry. I'm souping up the cool weather here. Believe it or not. Now, this is not a far-fetched tale. This is the gosh darn honest truth. So today I'm at work and I'm running around, and in one of the corners of one of the containments, there was a pile of snow yet.
Really?
Yeah, really. I had to take a picture. It wasn't much more than about half the size of a basketball, but it was still a pile of snow there. I just could not believe it. It was one of those things that you just shake your head and you go, wow, a pile of snow. Go figure. Blew my mind. I just couldn't believe it. But anyhow, snow and all, it's getting real green around here. We had like 75 today, and then a cold front came through, and then it dropped it down to it was in the 60s. I was filling up with gas coming home, and it was 62. So anyway, 62 is quite the big difference between in the hot heat indexes. But hey, I can't go wrong with that. I wish we could get a little bit of that heat so my garden would grow better.
We did get some rain today that was just really unexpected.
Yeah.
But very grateful. And I mean, we had some thunderstorms that come across South Georgia and North Florida. Very grateful. Very grateful. Got about 1/4 of an inch.
Yeah, you said that you were going through kind of a drought.
Yeah, we have been. South Georgia, the rivers that I've been, loving and reporting on for so many months now, you can walk the bottoms, they're like knee deep.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was like, 6-7 feet, which would have been over my head,
oh, wow.
You can wade the bottom of the river. So we really need rain. The farmers needed rain. The blueberries that were doing so well earlier on, the rain quit and the blueberries were poking out and getting really nice and juicy. And 2 days later, they just dried up. Ooh. And I've been watering them, each of the plants individually. It hasn't really helped. So dadgummit.
Yeah. Blueberries need a lot of water. Yes, they do. Yeah, my garden's starting to take off. We get a little bit of heat. It would really go. I got the tomatoes in the hothouse, and they are going like crazy. But the ones that are in the garden, just out in the air, they're just not doing so well. they're still just small. I mean, because they ain't getting warm enough, I don't think.
Right.
But the radishes are growing. I bet you, and then within a week I'll have radishes to pick. And the lettuce is coming too right now, and the Swiss chard is growing, and the kale looks really nice. And the all the other plants are doing real good. The potatoes are coming up. The beans and the peas are up, and all looks good.
Good.
All looks good.
Everything around here is dead, dying, or otherwise bug eaten. You know, I talked with a friend of mine yesterday. He's like, man, I just don't know what to do about this dead gum weather. He said, I planted corn and and then it dried up, and then I started watering and I can't keep up. And so it's like, driving around, you can tell that the corn that was planted is all shriveled up and, looking bad. So maybe this rain did some good today, but some of the corn and stuff around here was not looking well.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You're in a kind of an area where it's usually wet, more wet than not.
It depends. It depends. We had about a 7-year drought down in this area. And I mean, we were toting water because the well was dry and people were re-drilling their wells that were 300 and 400 feet deep. Mine's only 25 foot deep, and it never went dry. There was just only so much at the bottom. But people with wells, my neighbor had a well of 325 feet and he had to go another 75 feet to 400 feet.
Wow.
And because the aquifers and everything just drying up. But we had 2 years of decent rain, not this year, but last year and the year before. So some of the aquifers and stuff have recovered. But as far as, just normal rainfall.
Yeah.
And we keep our fingers crossed.
Well, things are changing.
Yeah,
things
they are
changing. Isby's in the house. Hey, Isby, thanks for coming. He was over on a Riders. So Rider might be done by now. But anyway, I want to show you my new book I got. Oh, I don't know. Shoot, darn. I'm going to have to do this differently. Now, hang on. I'll never be able to show stuff if I blur my background. Oh, wonder if I do that. That's.
It ain't in focus.
There we go.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wow, it's really having trouble seeing it, ain't it?
Well, I tried. They got all these things. Okay, wait a minute. I'm gonna have to try something else and get rid of that. Go back to this, and then there we go. And let's try this. Okay, there we go. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
There. Native American Herbalist Bible. What do you think of that?
That's cool.
9 books in one. Yeah. So anyway, there we go. I'm learning how to do this new one. This new computer's got a few more additions to it. But anyway, it's a nice big print. Tells all about all kinds of things, oral hygiene, safety tips. It's in big, bold words. You don't need 2 pair of glasses to see it.
Or a magnifying glass.
4 sacred, ceremonial, and medical plants of Native Americans. Believe it or not, first one starts out with is tobacco, cedar, sweetgrass, sage. So there you go. Everything you could just find in your backyard. Sage is a form of spice. Sweetgrass, the third gift of the sacred and the sacred hair. Sweetgrass is a cannibal located in Mother Earth. It was ideally used by the Americans, a purifying herb and incense. Cedar wood consists of some antibiotic and anti-inflammatory properties. and antioxidants, which can be used for purifying the home. It comes with restorative uses when you mix it with tea, where it can be aid in fighting infections. As stated earlier, cedar is used with sweet lodge ceremonies and smudging. The Western cedar leaves were so preferable as the internal and external medicines to heal the painful joint problems amongst the Native Americans. Wow. So using cedar to heal your achy joints. How about that? Look at that. So,
I'd have to rub it all over me.
No, you just take it as a tea.
I know, but
oh yeah. I get it.
I heard everywhere.
Susie Q's in the house. Let's see, infusing herbs into the water. Water-based herbal infusions are similar to that of making tea. The difference is you need to step up the herbs and water for a longer time if you intend to make a perfect infusions. Wow, this tells you everything. Echinacea, fresh cranberry, ivy leaf, evening primrose, garlic, valerian, chamomile. Yeah, all these things I've heard of before. Wow. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Trapping or hunting rituals, fishing rituals, gathering rituals, farming rituals. Wow. Okay. A lot of that. So tonight, so since everybody's starting to pile in, Susie Q's in the house, and along with everybody else, Travis the Brick, Lucky Stone, we got 8 people watching. We're good to go. I thought cedar was toxic. No, cedar is not toxic. I think maybe if you do the bark or something, but I think it's the leaves. You take the pine, certain cedars, you got to look it up, and then you boil the pine needles, right? Isn't that kind of the thing? Boiling the pine needles?
Yeah, but you don't boil them, you just heat it. That's one of the things that people make the mistake of. You bring it up to boil, let it sit, and then steep it, much like you should do all teas, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because otherwise it'll taste like pine.
Okay, cool. Let's see, where are we tonight? I have this. Save. We don't need that no more. Okay, and I'm gonna bring this up, and we are gonna go to this guy. Large him, and then I am gonna shrink this. This, like this, and I don't know where you went. There we go. Okay, I'm driving the bus, people. Anyway, there we go. Screen share. There we go. We're going to talk about this guy, Montezuma, the last Aztec king, because Cortez came and kind of took him out.
Okay, question. You used the word king. He wasn't a chief?
No, he was like a king. They they referred to him. He was as close to being a god as you could get. Yes.
Because king is our word.
Yeah. Well, he was.
I was just letting folks know that.
Yeah.
That he might not have been the king, but he was a higher muckety muck than just a chief. Okay.
Yeah,
he was. That's white man's words with that. You know that he. Anyway, I just want to throw that in.
Oh yeah. Well, exactly. Okay, so it starts out, and I was going to read this whole thing, but I read it, and I'm just going to kind of go through it. Well, he started out more than 400 years, or it'll be 500 years ago now. He was born. His dad, to the race of Aztec Indians, and his home was a grand place in beautiful Valley of Mexico. When he was old enough, he was rich. He was adorned with tapestry, you know, they had beautiful tapestries and everything in his for his baby's bed, and mats and canopies and of the finest cottons that could be made. His mother took care of him, just like any kid. And when he got, and they made their clothes. If you look at these things, they adorn themselves with lots of feathers. They interwove feathers into everything. Feathers, feathers, feathers. Of course, they got all those pretty birds down there, so they used all the feathers and embroidery. Well, anyway, in there, he was a prince. And his father, what is his father's name? Anyway, his father was the leader, the king, the leader, whatever you call it. He got the sickness, and he lingered on for about a year, and he died. It was called the withering. Apparently, in today's words, we would have called it the poisoning. Somebody tried to poison him over time because, he was the king. Well, anyway, he was trying to expand his empire. And I got one here for the empire of, okay. We're going to go there. This one here is the empire of the Aztecs and how they were situated. They had this whole area. If you can see this part of the down here, this is where they were. And they had this really grand land. They were everything from coastal jungle regions all the way up into the mountains. So you got mountains, plains, and you got the coast, the best of everything. When Montezuma's father died, his brother took over, and he ruled the land. And then apparently he was killed or he died too. In the meantime, Montezuma, he became, of course, being the son of the king, he went to the finest schools, learned all of the finest writing, arts of war, learned the priesthood. He learned about the gods and the rituals. He knew it all. If anybody got the best schooling, this was the kid that got the best schooling that you could possibly get. Okay, and he was on his roll to be a priest. But when the brother died, Montezuma was voted in. Apparently they did voting. Had a voting system of kind of the nobles would vote on who would be the next ruler, right? And they voted in Montezuma, figuring that because he was so much into the priesthood and the religion and taught in all these ways, he would be a nice, kind ruler. And they were looking for someone who wasn't gonna, run them into the ground. Empire, the Aztec Empire, had just been created within the last 100 years. And so it was a very new empire. And it was consisted of several tribes that were banded together. And then they formed this empire. Well, anyway, he was, house inside the wall of the serpents. Okay, now remember, he was in the city of Mexico, which is here. I got one for, this was the city. No, gotta go back. City. Yeah, okay, so this is the city where they lived. This was okay, so Montezuma, he was voted in as a king, and his first thing was to start conquering more empires. And of course, he started in with a good run, just like he was taught, and he started sacrificing people to the gods left and right. You'd conquer some lands and haul in. And when we're talking about sacrificing a few people, we're talking not like 2 or 3, we're talking hundreds, blood run in the street kind of thing. And of course, he wanted bigger and better. So he had a new palace built for him. He had lavish wardrobes. He never wore the same clothes twice. He had the finest garments made for him. He had the cooks cook hundreds of dishes for every meal, so that he could have he didn't want to eat the same thing, and he didn't know what he wanted. So he had him every meal. He had tons of stuff cooked, and he could have fresh food from the sea or stuff from the mountains. And he had runners that would travel by foot. They had stations, and they could have anything from any part of the country delivered to him within 24 hours. He was he started to tax the people. He had 3,000 servants on his beck and call at any given time. He had this giant palace built for him, where he had baths like that he could bathe in, of seawater, fresh water, and so many rooms in his palace that it was just an unbelievable place to see. Let's see if I got some pictures of that. Let's see. Oh, that's stuff in there. I got some pictures of that too. Yeah, here we go. So here you go. Anyway, so Montezuma was, being this ruler that they wanted, but they didn't want. He was taxing the people very heavily. He was starting to conquer different lands. He sent and if you didn't do what he said, he was like, he didn't want people. I think he was a little freaky. He didn't want people to look at him, to the point of where he would have a curtain pulled around him while he ate, so nobody could see him. And when if you were a noble to come to his chamber, you did not look at his face. You keep your head down, and you don't even wear the clothes that you came with. If you're a noble, you would have been dressed up, but instead they put garments of like burlap around them, and came in their bare feet, so they looked really poor and humble in front of him. So anybody coming to visit him would say, come on bended knee and dress humbly. And he was if you did look at him, you might as well consider yourself a dead man.
Sounds like a weird SOB, right?
Mm-hmm.
Son of a gun. I mean,
Yeah.
And they elected him. Right?
Yes.
So
yes.
What you had said previously was they wanted somebody because he was smart and all, and that,
Mm-hmm.
and boy, I guess it's sort of like go Brandon.
Exactly. It says here, he was there was a big celebration when he was elected. They played lots of games of strength and skill. Feasts were spread, entertainment was given, and joy ruled everywhere. But for this young king, but none of his subjects at the time dreamed how far from humble this future life would be. They thought that the taxes they would have to pay over the years would keep him in splendor. They did not picture themselves to pay homage to him and be obliged to give to this ruler. Seeing not long after Montezuma became king, he ordered another palace to be built, one in which he or the one which he was born was not grand enough to suit him. The ceilings of the new palace were made of sweet smelling cedar. Remember, we were just talking about cedar. And the walls were of stone. Fountains played constantly in a wide, beautiful courtyards. The hangings of the rooms were of the finest tapestries the people could make. Montezuma lived in the palace of the richest state. Every day he bathed in rooms set apart for his purpose. He put on new garments at least 4 different times between each morning and night. After taking them off, he never wore them again. He dined in the grandest style in the great hall. A beautiful gilded screen was drawn around his chair that he might eat without being watched. He had a set of golden dishes, but these were not often used. The plates were usually of the finest clay, and the cups were made of the pearliest linings of delicate seashells. There was a great variety of foods for Montezuma's. Ruled over a country which had climates of 3 different zones. Below him, on the seashore, the hot sun of the tropics beat down upon the sands, and here he grew the fruits of warm lands. Higher up around the king, in a lovely, see, they call him a king, in a lovely valley, grains and other things that grow the best in temperate lands, ripened in the mild, pleasant air. And still there were mountains, and above him, and all they produced. The Aztecs neither had horses nor mules, yet the delicious fruit, as well as the fresh fish from the ocean, could be brought to Montezuma's home in 24 hours. Men were trained as runners from the time they were children. The post houses were built at short distances across or along the road from the seashore up to the plateau of Mexico. Fresh runners were ready at each post house to take the supplies for the king's table, which other runners had brought thus far. In this way, the journey of 200 miles was made in one day. Wow. Can you imagine back in the day setting up a system that you could transfer something that far, that fast in one day? 200 miles. That's a feat above and beyond.
That's a bunch of feet.
Yeah.
Running
Great.
Across the ground.
Yeah. Oh my God. 200 miles in 24 hours. Yeah, okay. See, this is just the great king dressed in the finest garments, but everyone else except his own family was obligated to appear before him in common clothes. Even the great nobles of the kingdom took off their shoes and wrapped themselves in cloaks of coarse cloth when they came into the presence of their ruler. They did not dare to do otherwise. Neither did they venture lift their eyes to him. When one entered the hall where Montezuma sat, he bent down to the floor, saying only, "Lord," in a low and humble voice. Again, he bowed low and this time saying, "O Lord," and then a third time using the words, "Great Lord." When a person left the presence of the king, he dared not turn his head away and walk out as he would have done anywhere else. He must slowly back out of the hall. The great king had many wars. With almost everyone, he gained some new province. His kingdom became larger and larger and more powerful every year. It stretched from one ocean to the other. There was one small province called Tlaxcala, which Montezuma could not conquer. It was up among the mountains, and these people helped to protect it from enemies. Its people said, "We will keep ourselves free, and we will not give tribute to the great Montezuma." And so these people fought bravely, and they had war after war with him. And I'll skip a bunch. But anyway, even Montezuma sent his son to go and lead his soldiers against these people, and Montezuma's son was killed. And eventually he just left those people surrounded and said, "We're just not have anything. If you have anything to do with them, you're out." And pretty much, same thing any big kingdom does. Hey, we're doing it right now with you know who. Anyway.
Yep.
Well, then there was this prophecy. There was this legend. When Montezuma was a child, he learned of the legends of his people. And one said that the Aztecs had come to Mexico from afar off. They too were led by a great and wonderful being. He was not human like themselves, but he was the god of the air. He dwelt for a while and among his people in their new home. Then he left them and went away to the east. Before he left, he promised that he would return or would return sometime and he would be back again. The great king never forgot the legend. Now, let's see, I got here. You know what the legend was, right? Oh, it's too far. Sorry. The legend is that they would build a great city where they find an eagle, the eagle with the snake in his mouth standing on a cactus. And there they found the eagle with the snake in his mouth standing on a cactus. And they built the great city. So you didn't know that the legend, that was a legend. But I thought it was really interesting. You know how we're always talking about the great creator or a being from the sky? Well, and even with the Aztecs, a being, a wonderful being, he from not human like themselves, but was the god of the air, and he dwelt for a while among his people in a new home. Wonder who that being could have been.
I don't know, but let me make a comment about this picture.
Yeah, go ahead.
Look at the color of the people.
Yeah.
They're not native peoples.
Yeah. Well,
They're white people.
I'm sure they weren't drawn by.
No, but I mean the coloring in the other picture with Montezuma and these tribes and everything, they're all brown colored. These folks are pink.
They are. They are.
They're so that represents that they are not from. They're not locals.
That is true.
Okay.
That is true.
For whatever reason, they're not locals.
Yeah, I don't know if I got another one here of that. Nope,
Go back to the last one. Well, you just passed it.
Oh, okay.
The one with Montezuma standing there.
Oh, this one?
One more.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. That one? No. Which one?
The one with
back?
Montezuma standing there. Yeah, that one. Just zoom in closer. See, everybody in that picture that's Indian is of a color. And even the girl who's a little pale, but the white guy is obviously white. In comparison, whoever's making the drawings, they knew what colors to use. So the colors of that first one of the what do you call it? The legend or whatever.
Yeah.
Them folks are pink.
Definitely are.
So,
they're sure not Indian colored, are they?
No. So whoever was painting it, a lot of times, there's hidden messages as to why those people were pink versus brown. It might have been that somehow it were people from another era, another race, another place versus local.
Maybe they weren't quite as dark as they are now, too. You never know. I don't know.
But it's in the painter's eye, is my point.
Yeah.
Whoever was interpreting it, he did not color them brown because they weren't.
Yeah. I agree. Let's see. Skip ahead here a little bit. Okay, so Montezuma, he was waiting for some signs. There was a thing here. It says, these are the signs of the harm will come to my kingdom and myself. Oh, okay. Montezuma was living in the greatest splendor when a strange things. See, now this is the part that I really wonder what was really going on. Okay. Because you're not going to find this in any book. This book I'm reading out of is from 1905. Okay. I love these old books. So in 1905, this was written, because today's modern books, you'll never see it in there. It says here, Montezuma was living in the greatest splendor when strange things began to happen. Comets were seen shooting across the sky. And as we know, the Aztecs, the Mayans, they were really into sky watching. A noise. Now listen to this. I want you to comment on this one. A noise like thunder was heard over in the east. One of the towers of the temple suddenly took fire and burned. No one could explain how it happened. Worse still, the lake itself began to rise. It rose higher and higher until the waves swept over the city and did great harm to the buildings. So, what were they hearing that was so loud, noise like thunder heard over in the east?
And then what happened?
It said, yeah, and then it said that one of their towers started on fire.
Right.
And then it said the lake itself started to rise, and it rose higher and higher until the waves swept over the city and did great harm to the buildings.
It's called volcanic activity.
That could be, that could have
Because
been.
right down there, if there's pressure underneath, it could have absolutely pushed the water up from steam or lava or just an upheaval. Because that area down there is, it's real volatile as far as earthquakes and stuff.
Yeah, because here's their kingdom, and it's literally in the middle of a lake. Heck of a place to be. It's in the middle of a lake. There you go. I mean, so if the waters were rising, I could see if there was a big river coming in or it was the ocean or something, but it's a lake, big lake.
But if it happened all of a sudden and the thing caught on fire,
yeah,
that could very well be volcanic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Way.
But I love
they might not have known what that meant as far as whoever was writing it down.
Yes.
Because we have to remember, whoever wrote it down had to be knowledgeable enough to be able to write about things. And if he didn't know about volcanoes or how much activities in that area, he could not have explained it.
Yep. Well, but I love how they put this all together. Comets shooting across the sky, noise like thunder heard over in the east, and the towers of the temple suddenly took fire and burned. And no one could explain how it happened. And then the lake started to rise and rose higher and higher. So you got, what? Go ahead.
What if the comets that they saw were actually things coming out of the volcano and flying across the sky?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, they could have been comets. I'm not trying to say that it wasn't.
Well,
what could have been, if it was off in the east, that means they would have been west. So if this thing's shooting off fireballs from the volcanoes down there, and if it was at nighttime, to be able to see, a meteor, that it could have been stuff from the volcano.
Well, either that or could have been the meteors itself exploding over maybe the ocean.
That could be too.
I mean, they say that, like, remember that one that's exploded in Siberia and it wiped out like 700 miles of trees or something like that. And it's like, if it would have exploded over the ocean, it wouldn't have wiped out any trees, but it would have definitely been able to be heard. It'd been like a nuclear bomb going off.
Right. But then that would not necessarily have caused the lake to rise.
That's true.
I mean, so there could have very well been comets and stuff. I'm not, but they could have also been the result of the volcano, and volcanoes boom and stuff all the time.
That's true.
So, and then there was fire it caught one of the things on fire, then the lake rose. I'm saying, I think it was underneath the ground coming up. Something happened.
Something definitely was going on. Then he thought these were signs. They all thought they were signs, and nobody could explain it, right? So now this is a good one. I got a picture for this here.
Now, what year? Remind me, how many years ago was this? So
this would have been in the like the 1400s. Or late 1400s, because Cortez didn't get there till the 1500s. So there's it was early 1500s actually.
But to my point though, they were still throwing virgins in the hole. Yes. You know, so
where is
it was the fire gods or whatever, but you know, they were still throwing virgins and probably anybody else they could into the
Oh
volcano
yeah, they were
to appease
sacrificing.
those gods. So,
They're-
but you know,
yeah.
they didn't really understand the earth and its machinations. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So
So
go ahead.
anyway,
I'm sorry.
oh yeah. Oh, that's all right.
You asked me.
No. Okay. So see this hole here, this
Yeah.
thing, this is for their games. So, Montezuma, he sent message over to the neighboring king, and he says, "Hey, you know, you've been studying the stars. Maybe you can explain these things." And his neighbor answered was this: "A new people is coming to the shores of Mexico. Trouble will follow." When Montezuma heard these words, he was not willing to believe them. His neighbor said, "Let us settle the truth of the matter by a game of ball. If I win the game, then you will know the prophecy is true. But if I lose, then I will believe that I have told you wrongly." It was a common thing among the Aztecs to settle things in this manner, so Montezuma was quite willing to play the game. Of course, he hoped with all his heart that he would win. Of course, he wasn't playing, his players were. The players met in a place surrounded by a wall. Balls of elastic gum were chosen. They were not to be thrown with either hand or foot. They must be struck by the arm and the elbow or the thigh. Each time the ball touched the wall, it counted in favor of the one who struck it. But this was not all of the game. 2 stones were placed in the center of the playground. There was a hole in the middle of each stone, and whoever could make the ball pass through one of these holes was the winner. The greatest skill was needed to do this, and for they were scarcely any larger than the balls themselves. And there you go. There's a thing. There's like a hoop. The game was played, and Montezuma lost. He felt sad and disturbed, for now he thought, "I fear that trouble is really coming to my kingdom and myself." Soon after this, word was brought to the city that a strange vessel were near the shores of Mexico. They were different from any the Aztecs had ever seen before, and they bore quite the markings unlike the red men in the other color had any appearance. These ships came and went with no trouble followed, yet Montezuma on the watch in case of strange beings in their wonderful winged vessels should visit his country again. He ordered a watchman to stand guard on the highlands near the sea and to be constantly on lookout for what might appear. If the strangers were seen, he wished to know at once. His people must find out all they could to send him a careful report of what they had learned. A month after month passed and nothing unusual happened. The runners came hurrying up the mountainside and into the Mexico. They brought great news indeed. Ships had cast anchor off the coast. A canoe was filled, and at once the Indians hurried out to visit the newcomers. They had no fear of harm. They were doing the bidding of the king. They were quite willing to tell the white commander about the country and Montezuma, their great leader, who lived high up on the tableland above them. Is there gold in this country? That was one of the first questions asked by Commander Cortez. Oh yes, plenty of gold. That was probably the wrong thing to tell that guy. How the Spaniards' eyes sparkled and they heard of this. He longed for gold and more than anything else in the world. Of course, he was so hungry, no hurry to go away now. He and his men left their ships and made a rough camp for themselves on the seashore. The natives came from all over the country around to see the strange white visitors. They brought flowers, fruits, cooked meats, and vegetables as offering to the Spaniards. They also brought various things made of gold. They gladly gave them in return for the cheap trinkets of the white man. The next day after Cortez arrived, the chief who had charge of this part of the country visited Camp Spaniards, and he said he came in the name of the great Montezuma, who wished to know the reason for their coming. Cortez replied that he himself had come from the great ruler in the greatest, not the great, the greatest ruler in the whole world. This ruler had heard of Montezuma. Lie. He had sent a message and a present, but Cortez declared that no one but himself could give the message and the present. The chief was surprised and almost angry with Cortez for daring to wish such a thing to meet Montezuma. He promised, however, that his king should hear what the Spaniards said, and he laid costly presents before the commander. He wished to do him proper honor. So, and Cortez was okay. There were piles of garments made of cotton. There were mantles of beautiful feathers. Best of all, to the Spaniards were ornaments of gold. Yes, gold without a doubt. And for his return, he gave the chief some bits of glass polished to look like diamonds. Yeah, okay. Presents for Montezuma were then brought out. There were strings, glass beads, a large carved armchair, and a red cap, besides several other things which the natives admired very much. So Cortez, I'm going to sum this up a little bit. He fooled the chief, saying, here, we got some things you never seen before for Montezuma. And yet, so Montezuma got, the chief ran back, told Montezuma what he seen and what the white man said. And Montezuma said, send him more gifts. This was the biggest mistake. Send him more gifts of gold, feathers, clothing, everything we got. Send him more stuff and tell him to go away. And they did. And Cortez said, well, thank you, but no, I'm not going to go away. So he started to march towards Montezuma. And along the way, he made friends with this tribe that Montezuma didn't like, and, fought his way through and kind of conquered them a little bit. And as he came along the way, Montezuma kept sending him gifts, more gold and more stuff, saying, hey, here's some more trinkets and things. Go away. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know if he should attack these people or if he should, what he should do. They could be gods. He was very confused. Now, Cortez was a sneaky son of a gun. He was a good liar. He liked to point fingers. He blamed one guy and pitted it against another. One of these gifts so Cortez or Montezuma keeps sending more presents to drive them away. The presents was a very rich one. There were loads of clothes made of the finest cotton, beautiful crests of feathers, golden collars, figures of animals made of solid gold and silver. These things and many more were packed upon the backs of slaves and sent down the mountainside to the Spanish camp. Cortez was very much pleased with the splendid gifts, but he did not like the message that came with them. He was forbidden to approach any nearer to the kingdom. And he was now. But I must see Montezuma, were the words he sent in return. My own king has commanded me to do this before I return. So the runners went back and talked to Montezuma again. And Cortez kept pushing on. Cortez was not a person to give up easily. Of course, who would when you got lots of gold? Some of his guys were getting sick because they were in the hot heat and in the hot, down in the marshland. So they kept marching up. I will send part of my men and heavy guns on board ships, he thought, and they shall find a better harbor and more healthful place to stay. So he sent half of his guys back. So anyway, he kept going and marching, and eventually he made it to the kingdom where Montezuma lived. And when he finally got there, Montezuma says, okay, you're here, come on in. Gave him plenty of stuff, treat him with, kindness and stuff like that. Oh, let's see. He said to tell him friends would help him, then he sent him away. Okay, so anyway, Cortez did a tricky one. And this is where Cortez started the feud. Okay. There's a kingdom. You see, they're always dressed in these feathers. They loved their feathers. Look at that. Oh boy. What a place to be. Let's see. Here's their writings. You know, they didn't write right. They had picture, like hieroglyphics almost.
Yep.
It must have took somebody a long time to learn what these things all said. Jeez. Here's their, you know, building the pyramids and stuff. I still don't think those primitive Indians built all that shit.
Me neither. But zoom back into that.
That is just, you know, look
Can
how
you
big
zoom
that
in
thing
more?
is. Huh?
Zoom in a little bit more if you can.
Yeah,
Now,
see
those are real people
Yes.
walking up that thing. That's not an old picture. That's how people visit the top of that thing.
Yeah.
How massive it is. And they want to say that it was all done by, you know, the natives.
And
Look
they
how
didn't even
massive it is. My goodness gracious. I'm sorry. It would take bulldozers and, you know, okay, it was built by hand. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. These Indians who
Okay.
didn't even have horses, just slaves, and they built that thing. They spent hours a day hauling rocks and building
And
that.
it's
And
supposed to have been built within a particular period.
yeah,
So it's not like it was done over 100 years or 1,000 years. You know, they, you know, oh no, they built this thing. Come on.
yeah. And then that wasn't the only pyramid. They've been all these other things too,
Right.
you know.
The Pyramid
Yeah.
of the Sun, there's on that big plaza, a friend of mine lives down there, and she took some pictures, and she was like, David, this thing is huge. You know, it's
Yeah.
not just the plaza between the temples or the pyramids. I'm like, oh my God. And then when you look at that one and to see how the size of the people, it's
Yeah.
like, it really is massive. It
Yeah.
is every bit as colossal as the pyramids in Egypt, in my humble opinion.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, look at this picture, and you're looking at the people and how small they are, and you're looking at these giant buildings. It's like you built skyscrapers, and you're still using sticks and stones to. You don't even have, you know, things. You know what I'm saying?
In the pictures, you don't see any carts.
No.
You know, there are no carts.
No.
Which is interesting because, you know, Europeans and all that, they all had wheels, but the Native Americans didn't really have wheels neither. They drug stuff. And it wasn't until later on that they kind of got the idea of a wheel. So they were really slow on the uptake on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
well,
but to my point though, so the Egyptians are real smart and everything, where these guys didn't even have the wheel.
Yeah. And they
let
built
alone, you know, copper, or they don't talk about any kind of copper tools or anything. So how did they carve those stones?
Yep.
You know, so now we get into, oh, goodness gracious.
Yep. Let's see. It says at last now he ordered his messenger to go out and meet the Spaniard, and they invited the white men into enter his city. At the same time, he sent Cortez another rich present of gold and fine clothes. Of course, he wasn't wearing those fine clothes. One came an army of white men. At last, the beautiful valley of Mexico lay before them. They had already entered it, and with more messengers came hurrying from Montezuma. Once more, the king had changed his mind. He begged Cortez to turn back. I will give you 4 loads of gold. You know, the more this guy says, I'm going to give you more gold, the more Cortez says, I got to get there. This guy must have a mountain of it. Right?
Trying to buy him off.
Yeah, exactly. Cortez had no thought of turning back. He went steadily onward, drawing towards the city of Mexico. He had reached the beautiful lake, stepped upon the causeway, stretching from its shores to the inland home of Montezuma. And as you can see, there he is. He's coming in. He's hauling his cannons and his horses and his mounted men with metal armor. I mean, this must be quite the sight when you see, here you got these Indian guys and they got nothing.
And they're also showing that they've got cannons.
Yes, they've shown they got cannons. It's so anyway, Montezuma, he paid tribute to the Spaniards and showed Cortez and his men around, the courteous thing. They feasted. He spoke of the prophecies. He believed that the great king of whom Cortez told him was a prince of whom his people had looked for so long. He was glad to do all he could for the prince's subjects, to offer everything he had for their use and enjoyment. Oh, let's see. Well, anyway, along the way, Cortez made a plan, and he wanted the gold, and he wanted the people, and he wanted to conquer the people, and so he knew he had to get rid of Montezuma because his people revered him like a god. And with that, Cortez came up with a plan, because he knew that if Montezuma waved his hand, all his people would destroy him. I mean, they
wouldn't have stood a chance.
Yeah, exactly. They wouldn't have stood a chance. Thousands and thousands of people just throwing their lives upon, just the numbers over would be overwhelming. So what he did was he said, some of my men were killed by your men, down by the ocean. They were killed there. Your men killed them. And of course, Montezuma said, well, it wasn't my men. And Cortez says, yes, it had to be your men. Can we find these men and bring them to trial and whatever? So Montezuma says, absolutely, whatever you want. And so they found the men, they brought them in. Cortez says, well, burn them at the stake. That's what I want. And so they were going to burn them at the stake. And along the way, those men said, Montezuma said, go kill the Spaniards. And that's just what Cortez wanted him to say. He wanted him to say something like that. And with that, the Spaniards looked at Montezuma and locked him up in shackles and took him prisoner. And then they hauled him out of his lovely city here, and they hauled him to another place or whatever. But anyway, they told him, you gotta, you're under arrest. We're gonna do something with you. Oh, here's him meeting Cortez. See, and again, you're talking about, they're just a little bit darker. You see what I mean? You're right. They're just a little bit, they ain't completely,
And see, when you look at that prince or whatever holding the horse, he's more pink.
Yes.
So I'm just pointed that out. They meant that.
Yes, I agree.
For whatever reason, I don't know, but they meant that color. But anyway,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so Cortez locked him up, and he kind of gave him his free run, but he said, I got to get him out of here. Basically, he was holding him hostage so that they could all leave. And they used Montezuma to control the people. And at some point or another, the people, Montezuma kept giving them gold, more and more and more gold. And Cortez kept telling him, go out and talk to your people. Go out and talk to your people. So he did. And the people said, well, you're there. He's prisoner. And Montezuma says, no, I'm his guest. Lie. And eventually the people got restless, and they elected a new leader, a new king. And at this point, they didn't like Montezuma so much anymore. And the trick of going out there and telling the people, he went out there one day and he's saying, you know, calm down. You know, the people are rioting out. They're gonna come kill all the white men. Now the white men were held up. The Spaniards were held up in some fortress of some sort. And Montezuma went out there talking to the people, and they started throwing sticks and stones and shooting arrows, and Montezuma was mortally wounded. And soon after, he died. And then the armies come charging, and the Spaniards had a fight. They had a fight on their hands. They killed, apparently they killed up to 6,000 Aztec Indians. They were just killing them left and right. Can you imagine? But can you imagine? You got a cannon and you're just firing it into crowds of people. You know, as these thousands of Indians come up, and you got metal armor on, and what do they got? You know what I'm saying?
Arrows and spears, and
Yeah.
also they had the blunderbuss, which was a flintlock type rifle, but it was not a rifle. It was more like a shotgun. So they poured stuff in it. I mean, if they ran out of, they could put rocks in it and shoot it. You know, I mean, anything that was small enough, and they could put sand in it as long as they had a charge.
Yeah.
So, so you know, it wasn't that it was a rifle ball like in the war. These things were shotguns shooting stuff out at them. So how could they kill so many? And did they have, you know, 6,000 rounds of bullets between them? But with those old type blunderbuss, it was like a handheld cannon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can imagine. And then of course, you got to remember I said they kind of befriended these other chieftains.
Yep.
You know, that were against the Aztecs. Well, yeah, they had them on their side, and then they were fighting Montezuma's army, the Aztec guys. And so you got, you know, he increased his army size. And of course they had horses and swords and, you know, metal armor. I mean, you're talking, you know, a strength in numbers army with way better weapons.
Well, and if they were in a secured area and they were, you know, the Spanish, you know, had many wars, so they had that kind of warfare, where the native folks, you know, they fought in the jungles and things. They weren't used to, you know, city warfare. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, exactly. And I don't know how many men Cortez had, but he did have the superior weapons. You can see from this picture, you know, you got the guys on the boats, they got shields and you look at their big cannons there coming out of the boat. The natives pretty much got no armor. They got bows and arrows and some spears. They don't have horses. They don't got nothing.
Right.
You know, and they don't have much. And it's amazing how a superior force with a few extra added, you know, superior weapons can overtake thousands and thousands of men and wipe them out, literally.
Because they did not know the art of their warfare.
Yeah.
The Spaniards were trained in sword fighting, you know?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You got a guy with a sword, and then these other guys, what do they got? Nothing. Hands.
They got flint, spears, and arrows is what they had.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So so anyway, Cortez literally he fought his way out of there. Let's see. I'm going to jump right to the end. Followers and stones. Okay, here we go. Every silent. Let's see here. Montezuma told them he was not a prisoner, for he could go where he pleased. He begged them to lay down their arms. If they had taken them up to defend him, he promised that the white strangers should leave the kingdom. He ended his speech with these words, quiet your fears and obey my commands as you dread the vengeance of heaven. Everyone was silent for a moment, and then one of the Indians in the crowd below called out that Montezuma was a coward and not fit to govern the kingdom. With these words, he shot his arrow straight at the king. Others followed his example, for the anger was stirred anew, and the loud shouts, and then sent a shower of stones and arrows up into the place where Montezuma was standing. He was struck to the ground with these 3 wounds. The arrow had entered his arm, stones had struck his head and his leg. When the people saw him fall, they were frightened, and they had what they had done and fled in all directions. Montezuma was carried into the place where the surgeons were ready to dress his wounds, but he was not willing to be helped. He tore off his bandages from his bruised body and refused to eat. He turned away his head when his white friends tried to comfort him. Day by day, he grew weaker until the Spaniards saw his last hour had come. Even the grim soldiers of Cortez wept as they looked upon him now. Then they had seen how weak and changeable he was, but he had also found what he had, a gentle, loving heart. He had treated them as kindly as a father. Montezuma, the last king of the Aztecs, was dead. The news was sent at once to the Mexicans with word that they had caused his death. They were filled with grief and could not believe they were to blame. No, the Spaniards had killed Montezuma. The Spaniards killed him. They would believe nothing else. Meanwhile, a battle was going on between the Indians and the white man. After a long and terrible fight, the Spaniards conquered. The kingdom of the Aztecs was at an end. The prophecy in which Montezuma believed had come true. And there you go. So with all of that, Montezuma fell, and because they had superior weapons, they killed thousands and thousands of people who could build a beautiful city like this in matter of days and conquered a whole darn kingdom. Believe it or not. Yeah. So there you go.
Would you go back to that? You know that circle that you had up for the game?
Yes.
Would you show that picture, please?
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Now zoom in on it. Okay, that's good. Now look to the bottom left.
Okay. Here.
Yeah, that area right in there. Somebody has knocked that off.
Oh yeah, it's got a.
And if you go to the top left,
yeah, up here.
Somebody has chiseled that off.
Oh yeah.
It didn't just fall off. You can see ridges in there. And I was looking at it earlier, and I was like, I wondered what it said that somebody didn't want it there, because nothing else on that wheel, as long as it's been there, has crumbled or you know, that looks like it's been erased.
Yeah. That's,
just a comment, no reason why, but
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It
You know,
really does.
in talking about the game, for example, they weren't allowed to touch it with their hands or, you know, but their thighs. Think of hacky sack.
Yeah. Something
In a
like
way,
that.
that's what it was. So, but anyway, well, thank you, Robert. I just looked at that picture and I was like, man, there's something weird about that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's the thing. There's all you know.
Yep.
Hey, look at Steve, slightly slanted through. Sorry, I couldn't see the chat here, but thanks for coming. Look at that. I haven't seen Steve in a while. Regine Hutchelson's in the house. Yeah, cool. Suzanne Sashi's in the house too. Let's see who else. Chloe come to visit us tonight too. Good deal. Thank you all for coming. I hope you're learning something. Yes, reminds me of King Hog. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, the point is that, you know, these Aztec guys, they got their asses beat by Cortez. And how many ships did he bring? You know, was it 2, 3, 4? Now I'm going to have to research that a little bit. I kind of didn't do much on the Cortez. I was so interested in reading. I got this new book, which is an old book from 1905 called 10 Big Indian Tribes or Indian, or 10 big Indians, and it's got 10 different Indians in here.
And
So
Montezuma is one of them, right?
he was the first. Next one is the California King, then the Indian King of Virginia, King of the Wampanoags, I guess something like that. Pontiac, War Chief of the Ottawas, Red Jacket, Great Orderer of the Senecas, Osceola, War Chief of the Seminoles, Black Hawk, last great Osceola. Okay,
This, yeah, I live down here, but
okay, well, good. I'm glad you can. Okay, War Chief of the Seminoles, Black Hawk, last great chief of the Sacs and the Foxes, Sitting Bull, great medicine chief of the Sioux, and Seattle, last great chief of Washington. Huh, maybe so. Seattle is named after a great chief. Who would have thought?
yeah, there's a lot of history of a lot of stuff that, you know, for example, I read an article recently, Native Americans, right? And they're like, who gave Jeep the right to call one of their vehicles a Cherokee? The Cherokee don't get any, I mean, that's their name, that's who they are, and they don't get any free Jeeps. You know, they don't get any residuals, but the Jeep Cherokee, and there are some folks that are kind of pissed about that. You know, like
Chevy used to have a truck named the Apache.
Right.
You know, they had and then there was Cherokee Jeep. There was a bunch of with Indian names. Well, Pontiac. Right. Pontiac itself is named after an Indian.
Well, in Pontiac, Michigan,
yeah,
you know, but named after an Indian chief. So, but to the point though, you know, it's like Chrysler isn't thinking about dropping the name anytime soon, and they're damn sure not going to give any reparations or any kind of, you know. But to their point, like, wait a minute, you know, we don't want to be associated with an off-road vehicle.
Well, and then if you go RVing, you're going to jump in your Winnebago.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got family members up in Ohio that live near a Winnebago factory.
Oh, there you go.
Ohio. I was surprised. I was like, yeah, that's where they make them. I think it's Winnebago, Ohio. But anyway, but to the point, yeah. So you want a page number?
Oh, yeah. You just give me a second to find it. I got this new computer thing going on, and I gotta pull it up. Oh my gosh, I never thought about that part. Yeah. I don't have it pulled up like I used to. Where would I put it? Oh, here. Okay.
So one of the things that, you know, the white man has done, I was reading an article earlier today, and it had to do with someone's point of view about the animals out west and something, how they should just go ahead and be wiped out. Black bears, they should just be killed, and because black bears are like Native Americans. And and I was like, and in the next sentence said, we conquered the Indians, and we should do the same with the black bear. We should just wipe them out. And I was like, what? So they were comparing wiping out black bears to wiping out the Indians. This has been a recent statement within like the last week. This ain't like 1,000 or 100 years ago. This is current statements by people who live out west.
Wow.
You know, they still believe that a good Indian is a dead Indian, you know.
Yeah.
And and I mean, you live out there where there is more of that, but I know folks from the res, you know, from the res out there in South Dakota, Rosebud, you know, Rosebud.
Okay. All of this and okay. Fudge. Okay, just gonna have to be patient for a second. Meeting. Looking for a PDF. You think I could find a PDF? No. Huh. I should have found it earlier. Oh boy. Guess that wasn't on the top of my list. I was so busy putting the other stuff together. Oh well, keep going. Something, I'll find it. Give me a second.
Well,
You know,
I can read the story.
you go right ahead if you want to read a story, and I'll find it here sooner or later. Shoot, darn, it's here somewhere. I try to put everything on my external hard drives, and now
you got a new computer. That's right.
Yeah, and then I could pull it all over to my other. Oh, that's where it might be. It might be in that window.
All right. Well, this is a short story, and it's called A Fish Story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from the Tiwa. Let me get my other pair of glasses. I think I need bifocals at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Get my other pair of weirdly glued together glasses. There occurred in those days a great drought. Rain had not come for many, many days. The crops were dying and the water in the lake was going down and down. Prayers had to be offered to the Great Spirit. This was the duty of the fish people. So they all assembled in the kiva to pray.
Okay, wait, hold on. I got it. I found it.
Okay.
What page?
415.
I knew it was there. 415. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'm like, I got it. If I see 2 more seconds, you know, that's all it would have took. 2 more seconds. Okay, people, just bear with us. Sorry, we're doing our thing, but 15. There we go. There we go. Fish story. Okay, now you can start. Oh, I'm a silly, ain't I? Here we go.
Hey, this is what's called live.
Well, that's right. We're doing it, driving the bus.
All right, going to start over here, and you can make this a short because it's a really short.
Okay.
A fish story from the Tiwa. There occurred in those days a great drought. The rain had not come for many, many days. The crops were dying, and the water in the lake was going down and down. Prayers had to be offered to the Great Spirit. This was the duty of the fish people. So they all assembled in the kiva to pray and offer sacrifice to the rain gods. The custom was to fast and stay in the kiva until the rain came. A woman by the name of Finini was given the duty to feed the fish people, which she did each day at noon. Since the men were fasting, she served them only a small amount of food and a few drops of water. On the night of the 3rd day, however, one of the men could no longer stand the isolation. When the others went to sleep, he sneaked out of the kiva and ran to a nearby lake. There he drank and drank, and swallowing all the water he had been thinking about for the last 3 days. After filling his body with water, he returned to the kiva. He entered slowly and stepped quietly down the stairs so that he would not be heard. Midway between the roof and the floor, however, he burst. The water pulled out of his head, eyes, mouth, arms, body, and legs. When this happened, the people who were inside turned into fish, frogs, and all kinds of water animals, and the kiva was filled with water. The next day at noon, the woman who was in charge of feeding the men went to the kiva. She could not believe what she saw. Water was gushing from it straight up into the air, and suspended in the torrent were fish, frogs, eels, snakes, and ducks. Sadly, with her basket still in her hand, she slowly returned to the village. The first house she visited was that of an untidy odd couple. She placed her basket in the center of the room and silently sat by the grinding stone. After making only one stroke of the stone, she too turned into a snake. Seeing this, the old man and his wife both said, "Something terrible has happened at the kiva." The man ran to find out what was wrong, and at the kiva he saw ducks, beavers, and frogs swimming in the water at the bottom. The old man knew that this was a bad omen for the people of the village. When he reached home, he told his wife, one of the men failed us, and all of them turned into ducks and frogs and eels, snakes, and beavers. We can no longer live here," his wife replied. "You must let our people know. We must also make preparations to take this snake, our friend Fee, where she belongs." The old woman prepared a basket filled with blue cornmeal and placed the little snake inside. Her husband took the basket and headed towards the east, where there was a snake burrow. At the home of the snakes, he fed them blue cornmeal, and one by one, all kinds of snakes wiggled through the meal. Then he placed Fee among the others and said to her, "I have brought you to live here. You are now a young lady snake, and with the help of the Great Spirit, you will live long among your own kind. I give you my blessing." To the other snakes, he said, "I have brought you a sister. Take you into your arms." As the other snakes curled around Fee, the man walked away with tears in his eyes. At home, the old couple cried again and told their people that the law required them to move from their home, Okiowan, and seek another place to live. Now you know why we live where we do. The tragedy that occurred at Okiowan forced our people to move to Exxon Oshuk, which is now San Juan. So some of these old tales are strange. And here's the interesting, it's drying up in the Southwest, but up in the Yellowstone is flooding.
Yeah. Well, like here, we're getting rain all the time. Whereas like out by you, you got drought. We got witchy moons in the house tonight. Look at that. Witchy moon. And we got Mark. Mark is in the house. I haven't seen Mark before. Thank you for coming. Welcome,
Hey, Mark.
welcome.
He may be from my channel if he is. Hi, Mark. But hi, Mark, anyway, if you're not the same Mark.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but anyway, either way, thanks for coming. He's real smart. He says a pine cone can represent the pineal gland. He says he thinks, and that's exactly the truth. It's Susie Q's. Yes, just like the pine cone and the purse or bag. Yes, that's what they always had in those pictures, the Anunnaki and stuff. Okay, where am I going next?
I'm not sure if I read this one, but the next one is on 423. It's not very long, but it's about the first totem pole.
Ooh, I don't think we heard that one before.
I think so, way back, but it bears,
Well, if we did, I don't remember it.
I don't remember.
I don't remember making a short on it, I don't think.
No, you haven't. So, but anyway, here we go.
Oh, hang on. I got to share it here. Hang on.
All right. Well, I'm going to read the preface.
Oh, here we go.
The
We're
totem
good.
poles of the Northwest Coast tribes were actually family crests rather than religious icons, denoting the owner's legendary descent from an animal such as a beaver, raven, wolf, salmon, or a killer whale. Coming into a village, a stranger would look first at a house with a totem pole of his own clan animal. Its owner was sure to receive him as a friend and offer him food and shelter. Totem poles also preserved ancient customs by making sure that in every region within visiting distance of others, the old stories were repeated. And the old beliefs about the spirits, the origins of fire, and other myths were basically the same despite linguistic differences between main tribal groups. Wakiash was a chief named after the river Wakiash because he was open-handed and flowing with gifts, even as the river flowed with fish. This is the story of Wakiash and the first totem pole. It happened once that the whole tribe was having a dance. Wakiash had never created a dance of his own, and he was unhappy because all the other chiefs had fine dances. So he thought, I will go up into the mountains to fast, and perhaps a dance will come to me. Wakiash made himself ready and went into the mountains, where he stayed, fasting and bathing for 4 days. Early in the morning of the 4th day, he grew so weary that he lay upon his back and fell asleep. Then he felt something on his breast and woke to see a little green frog. Lie still, the frog said, but because you are on the back of a raven who is going to fly you and me around the world. Then you can see what you want and take it. The raven began to beat its wings, and they flew for 4 days, during which Wakiash saw many things. When they were on their way back, he spotted a house with a beautiful totem pole in front and heard the sound of singing inside the house. Thinking that these were fine things, he wished that he could take them home. The frog, who knew his thoughts, told the raven to stop. As the bird coasted to the ground, the frog advised the chief to hide behind the door of the house. Stay there until they begin to dance, the frog said, then leap out into the room. The people tried to begin a dance, but could do nothing, neither dance nor sing. One of them said, something is the matter. There must be something near us that makes us feel like this. And the chief said, let one of us who can run faster than the flames of the fire rush around the house and find what it is. So the little mouse said that she would go, for she could creep anywhere and even into the box. And if anyone were hiding, she would find them. The mouse had taken off her mouse skin clothes and was presently appearing in the form of a woman. Indeed, all the people in the house were animals who looked like humans because they had taken off their animal skin clothes to dance. When the mouse ran out, Wakiash caught her and said, ha, my friend, I have a gift for you. And he gave her a piece of mountain goat's fat. The mouse was so pleased with Wakiash that she began talking to him. What do you want? She asked eventually. Wakiash said that he wanted the totem pole, the house, and the dances and songs that belonged to them. The mouse said, stay here, wait till I come again. Wakiash stayed, and the mouse went in and told the dancers, I've been everywhere to see if there's a man around, but I couldn't find anybody. And the chief, who looked like a man but was really a beaver, said, let's try to dance again. They tried 3 more times, but couldn't do anything. And each time they sent the mouse to search. But each time the mouse only chatted with Wakiash and returned to report that no one was there. The 3rd time she was sent out, she said to him, get ready, and when they begin to dance, leap into the room. When the mouse told the animals again that there was no one there, they began to dance. And then Waukesha sprang in, and at once they all dropped their heads in shame because the men had seen them looking like men, whereas they were really animals. The dancers stood silently at last, and the mouse said, "Let's not waste time. Let's ask our friend what he wants." So they all lifted up their heads, and the chief asked the man what he wanted. Waukesha thought that he would like to have the dance because he had never had one of his own. Also, he thought he would like to have the house and the totem pole that he had seen outside. Though the man did not speak, the mouse divined his thoughts and told the dancers. And the chief said, "Let our friend sit down. We'll show him how we dance, and he can pick out whatever dance he wants." So they began to dance, and when they had ended, the chief asked Waukesha what kind of dance he would like. The dancers had been using all sorts of masks. Most of all of Waukesha wanted the echo mask and the mask of the little man who goes about the house talking, and trying to quarrel with them. Waukesha only formed his wishes in his mind. The mouse told them to the chief. So the animals taught Waukesha all of their dances. And the chief told him that he might take as many dances and masks as he wished, as well as the house and the totem pole. The beaver chief promised Waukesha that these things would all go with him when he returned home, and that he could use them all in one dance. The chief also gave him for his own the name of the totem pole, Kalakuyawish, meaning sky pole, because the pole was so tall. So the chief took the house and folded it up like a little bundle. He put it into the headdress of one of the dancers and gave it to Waukesha, saying, "When you reach home, throw down this bundle. The house will become as it was when you first saw it, and then you can begin to give a dance." Waukesha went back to the raven, and the raven flew away with him toward the mountain from which they had set out. Before they arrived, Waukesha fell asleep, and when he awoke, the raven and the frog were gone, and he was alone. It was night by the time Waukesha arrived home. He threw down the bundle that was in the headdress, and there was the house with the totem pole. The whale painted on the house was blowing. The animals carved on the totem pole were making their noises, and all the masks inside the house were talking and crying aloud. At once, Waukesha's people woke up and came out to see what was happening. And Waukesha found that instead of 4 days, he had been away for 4 years. They all went into the new house, and Waukesha began to make a dance. He taught the people the songs, and they sang while Waukesha danced. Then the echo came, and whoever made a noise, the echo made the same by changing the mouthpieces of its mask. When they had finished dancing, the house was gone. It went back to the animals. And all the chiefs were ashamed because Waukesha now had the best dance. When Waukesha made a house and mask and a totem pole out of wood, and when the totem pole was finished, the people composed a song for it. This song was the first the tribe had ever had. The animals had named it Kalakuyawish, the pole that holds up the sky. And they said that it made a creaking noise because the sky was so heavy. And Waukesha took for his own the name of the totem pole, Kalakuyawish, based on a version reported by Natalie Curtis in the Indians book in 1907.
Wow.
How about that one?
That one was good. Yeah, that was a good one. I like it. I sure did. Oh man, they got some good stories.
Yeah, the interesting one about the fish too, where one man had broken the promise and it turned them all into fish and beavers and ducks but they had to move, because of the law.
Yep.
And
There's always a law.
I mean, the whole tribe had to honor the law, and the law said that if something like this happens, y'all got to skedaddle.
Yep. So what do you got for us tonight now? You pulling a card? Oh, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it before Isby starts saying, hey, what card you pulling?
About halfway through, I got the urge. I got the music in me. I got the music in me. I'm looking from a book. I got the urge to pull 2 cards. And I went through the deck again, and there wasn't anything else. But they're both upside down, but interesting. Elk, number 3, and Badger, number 29. So
we haven't had elk ever.
came out first. And, upside down doesn't necessarily mean bad things. So got to find page another tree. That's interesting. Elk is stamina.
Stamina, yeah. Elk looks like stamina.
Elk, your antlers reach for the sun. Show me that strength and stamina are one. Elk wandered through the forest looking for a partner. The mating season was in full swing, and the bucks were usually traveled with the other males had dispersed to find mates for the season. As Elk bellowed his mating call through the forest, his bugling alerted Mountain Lion that a feast could be in the making. Mountain Lion circled Elk, getting closer to his prey. Moment by moment, Elk sensed the impending danger when the forest grew suddenly silent. He broke for the high country when he spotted his pursuer, but Mountain Lion was far behind. As Elk made a running leap for the timberline, Mountain Lion gained on him, but Elk continued to run onward, displaying tremendous stamina. Finally, Mountain Lion gave up, having spent his energy in spurts as he tried to jump over boulders to reach Elk. Elk paced himself, making headway as he climbed skyward toward the high country. Elk had no other defense except his ability to go the distance. Elk had no other, setting a pace that allowed him to utilize his stamina and his energy to the fullest. Elk medicine teaches that pacing yourself will increase your stamina. Elk medicine people may not be the first ones to arrive at a goal, but they are always arrived without getting burned out. If you have taken on too much recently, it might be a good idea to look at how you plan to finish what you have started without ending up in the hospital. Elk have a curious kind of warrior energy because, except at mating time, they honor the company of their own gender. They can call on the medicine of brotherhood or sisterhood. In discovering the strength which is gained from loving the gender that is your own, you will feel the camaraderie that arises similarly of an experience. This is a special medicine that allows the friendship of others of your same sex to overcome potential competition or jealousy. If you picked elk medicine, you may be telling yourself to seek the company of your own gender for a while. You may need a support group to realign yourself with the stamina of the warrior or warrioress energy that you are a part of. This communication with others of your own sex allows you to air your feelings in safety and to get feedback from others who have had the same experiences. You may need a new sense of community, communication in unity. Now that's right side up. So let me read the contrary. and not necessarily the opposite. I got to use 2 sets of glasses. That print's just too small for my eyeballs. Contrary, if elk has appeared in the reverse position, you may be stretching the rubber band to the breaking point. Be careful of undue stress levels, or you might just create an illness to force yourself to take a break. Think about this. If elk has appeared in reverse, you may be stretching the rubber band to the breaking point. Be careful of undue stress levels, or you might just create an illness to force you to take a break. Be careful you don't make yourself sick. That's wow, and this is a stressful time right now for folks. So don't make yourself sick over stuff. On another level, you may not be honoring your desire for companionship with the opposite sex, and you may have forgotten the excitement of mating season. If this is the case, you may find that your best option is to invite friends of the opposite sex for dinner or an afternoon outing. This is not to say that you would be sexually interested in these friends. It is merely suggesting that the exchange of opposite energies are rewarding. Think about that. It's the male, female, that both are the divine energy. If you are in a relationship, it may be that the honeymoon is waning and that you need to stir up some excitement. Persistently creating a change of pace is the kind of stamina needed for any relationship to last. In all cases, elk is telling you to look at how you choose to create your present pathway and how do you intend to perpetuate it to reach your goal. Your best weapon is, as elks, to stop when you need to persist when you need to, and to allow room for change and the exchange of energies. Your best weapon is to stop when you need to, persist when you need to, and to allow room for change and the exchange of energies. That's a really good message right there, because there are folks who seem to be backbiting each other. Well, he's a man and he's not part of, or she's a woman, she's just a broad. We got to stop that mess.
Yeah,
we just really do.
Gossiping is like the root of all evil sometimes. And you know, it brings up all this drama. And I don't remember where I heard it the other day. I heard it somewhere and it said something about gossipers. And it just makes bad news, bad karma, all that good stuff. You know.
Number 29, badger, is aggressiveness. Badger.
Oh,
until you reach your goal, know the inner power that lives in your soul. Badger is vicious and attacks with powerful aggression. Badger is quick to anger and quicker to pounce. The power of badger's medicine is aggressiveness and the willing to fight for what it wants. The very thought of facing badger makes other animals run for cover. Like skunk, badger's reputation precedes it. Its hissing fangs will tear less aggressive opponents to shreds. Badger is the medicine of many powerful medicine women. For badger is also the keeper of the medicine roots. Its hissing fangs will, badger sees all the roots of Mother Earth's healing herbs hanging in its burrow. These roots are a key to aggressive healing. So it's not the aggressiveness of being aggressive towards someone, it's the aggressiveness of healing, the aggressiveness of helping. The roots can ground energy, negative energy in the earth by allowing illness to pass through a body into the ground as neutral energy. Badger medicine people are quick to act in a crisis and they do not panic. If badger is a part of your medicine, you are quick to express your feelings and do not care what the consequences are. Badger people oftentimes insist on carrying the ball for the touchdown. However, this attitude does not endure them to the rest of their teammates. Badger medicine may also point to aggressive healer who will have the courage to use unconventional means to exact a cure. Like the mother who sits for days nursing a child with a high fever, Badger is willing to persist. Badger people can be vicious gossips or may exhibit a chip on the shoulder syndrome if they are out of balance. You can be sure that people with Badger medicine will be aggressive enough to make it to the tops of their chosen fields because they do not give up. They are also the finest healers because they will use any and all methods to ensure healing and will not give up on the critically ill. A Badger person is often the boss and the one that everyone fears. That same boss will surely keep any company afloat. Badger gets the job accomplished. Badger's certainty is a source of strength. If Badger pushed its way into your cards today, it may be telling that you have been too meek in trying to reach some goal. Badger asks you how long you are willing to sit and wait for the world to deliver your silver spoon. Now, contrary, whoops, here comes Badger upside down and fuming. This could mean that you are being chewed out by someone else, or that you have expressed your anger in an unhealthy way, or that you have expressed your anger in an unhealthy way. We do that easily as human beings. If this applies to you, remember that all anger stems from anger towards the self. It is an anger of helplessness that is misdirected towards others. That's an important little message right there. If you are angry at a coworker for telling the boss that you were looking for another job, you're really angry at yourself for not keeping your own secret. If you are angry at your children for disobeying, it is usually anger that stems from fear for the child's well-being. This self-anger condition is usually present when you have silly accidents, falls, cuts, and scrapes, or when you find yourself bumping into furniture. I used to do that a lot years ago. I don't do it anymore. But anyway, Badger in the contrary position can issue in a time of reflection on what you feel helpless about. Is it your lack of aggressiveness, or is it a lack of initiative? Is it your fear of being blasted or belittled if you present a new idea? Maybe it is time when you need to get in touch with your own jealousy or envy of others who are willing to put themselves on top through hard work or persistence. In the reverse, Badger teaches you the pitfalls of shyness and insecurity, as well as of misused or vicious aggression. Go to your feelings. Maybe you just need to let off some steam. If so, scream into a pillow and then punch it a couple of times. It will surely put Badger back into balance. Badger can be a difficult medicine, and learning to use it properly is a rare gift. In another context, contrary Badger could be calling you to use herbs, roots, and medicinals to heal your body. Badger reverse may also be putting you on notice to be aware of those areas in your life that need the input of someone else's aggressive creativity to spark your own creativity. In any case, contrary Badger speaks of a need for more aggressive action in life. No more inactivity can prevail without creating pain of some kind. There's a lot to be angry about these days, and a lot of people are feeling helpless. And I have reflected on this personally and thought to myself, just a few years ago, I would have been in a panic. I'd be having panic attacks all the time. I would be a nuclear mess. So for me, and knowing that I have changed and I'm calmer and look at things, And I kind of read the cards too, you know, like, hey, pay attention to stuff. But for other people, and I don't know why I'm so calm, if you want to know the truth. I mean, there are things that I should just be so ill about and want to jump up and down and scream, but it really doesn't do any good, you know. So and those types of things can make you ill. So we've got things we need to work on. I got an email from a friend of mine this last week, and there's like 6 plant, you know, little potted things. And hey, everybody, look at my new garden. Now he's 70 something years old, has never planted a thing in his life, but he's started a little garden. You know, 6 little. I busted out laughing when I saw it, but he was serious, and I was like, oh man, oh, need to be careful. You know,
yeah.
hurt his feelings. But here's the thing: so people that have been in ruts or whatever for most of their lives are still finding it. You know, I need to do something. I might feel helpless, but if I do these certain things, I don't feel quite as helpless. And there's enough to make us sick about it. That's for true. So, but anyway, y'all be safe, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well,
be careful.
that's right. Be strong and steady like elk, and
Yep.
brave like badger.
And also badger, you know, because it's in the ground and all of Mother Earth's roots and things. So I think that's a big thing right now. And you and I have talked about it. We always have a little blurb about some kind of medicinals or whatever. But people really, I think, need to, you know, pay more attention to that, because the old timers, they didn't have doctors and such.
No, they didn't.
And the native folks, you know, they didn't. And so they had their own medicine. And so I think that's a really good, you know, follow up on that. And maybe it's the stamina of elk that you should look at. If you say, well, I don't know about this herbology and stuff, maybe you need to think about the stamina of elk and the persistence of badger and say, wait, maybe I do need to buy a book and go out and look at some of these things and see if I can find them on my own. Just saying.
That's right. If you guys want to hear more about that book, let me know and put it in the comments below or something like that. Send me an email and maybe we'll do a show on that Native American encyclopedia stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a lot in there. Lots in there. Anyway, that's all I got to say on it. I love getting those books. You gonna do a show tonight?
Yep.
Yes. Medicine Wheel?
Maybe. I was actually thinking about doing some card readings.
Oh, card readings. I think Marcus says, thinking about pulling a card for me today, he says. And,
well, maybe that's who I was thinking of, but
that's right.
I was thinking about just doing a couple of card readings but you know, kind of bring up to date and go back over like chapter 3 of the Medicine Wheel.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So, dear friends, any of you out there that, you know, give me 20 minutes. I think the dog's still outside.
Oh boy.
You know, it's time for me to get something to drink. And
Duggar wants to come in.
Yeah, Duggar probably does. I haven't heard him bark. So
that's right.
You know,
okay, go out and get yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and David's gonna be right back and have a good show. Right?
Right.
Get a card pulled for you. I think that's an awesome deal. If I could stay up any longer, I'm getting really tired. I was working in the garden planting some stuff today, so I'm getting tired now. But anyway, I got to get to bed. I got to go to work tomorrow. So some of us got to get up in the morning.
Well, we kept this under 2 hours if we shut up.
Yes, that's for sure. Okay, and with that,
we love you. Thank you. Here's everybody.
Be the frequency you want to receive. I love you all, everybody. Peace, everybody. And there we go. Woo-hoo.